Flutter is great. I love it. As a full stack Flutter developer, I can find it awesome and highly effective for developing Android and iOS applications, which is clean UI, simple code clean, and object-oriented structure. You can create amazing application. Flutter has a lot of packages, built-in packages, and a lot of state management that can help you build complex application in a very easy way, and it is a superior choice for building Android and iOS application. However, Flutter has a motto: write it once and cover all platforms. That include mobile applications, web application, and desktop application. I use Flutter for all of those purposes. And here's a spoiler for you guys: Flutter for web and desktop isn't that great. I have tried it. I have developed it on multiple apps. I have gone through some of the challenges that I have faced, and today we are going to discuss all of those issues that I have faced and might tell you some guys along the way so that you guys don't make the following mistake. So, before we begin, um, let's just jump into the desktop. So here's the open any other browser and just go to rafa99.com. And for you guys, for simple along, I wrote an article. Just go to rafa99.com/blog and you will be redirected to my website. It's the latest article. I just wrote it a couple of days ago and I will be going through all of the problems. So here are some of the problems that I faced while I was working on Flutter web application. Like these problems can be solved, but they are a little problematic and they are not well developed yet. They are still under development. So for particularly for web, there are not enough packages. The very first problem is, yeah, sure, you can just visit, Flutter pub-get, and you will find a lot of packages on their website that are specifically for for web application, but they're still not enough. And even if there are some packages that are available for Android and iOS, they might not be available for web. So for web, you might need to do a trickery, and you need to check your what kind of platform you're running, and you need to kick that particular package so that that thing that feature you're working upon can work on Android and iOS along with web application. So there are still a lot of packages, but they are still not quite enough. For example, the one of the most issue problem that I faced was I was developing a blog website. It was my previous website, and image picking system. Now I need a. I was supposed to upload images from via mobile phone and from web as well. But for web, I was using a package known as image picker, and it has a web support, but it was not that smooth, and it did not pick up packages from my computer when I was trying on web dev environment, and also in production it was not working. So I decided to use .html that is native to web only and not just to Android and iOS application. So whenever I want to build the APK file for Android application, it just won't build. It will just give off the error and saying that this particular package is not available for Android. Kindly please use this package. And there was no alternative for that. Sure, there might be another package. There was another package that I recall that is known as file picker for web. Let me show you guys. That package particular here you go. That's the package that I was using, file picker for web. It does work, but it's still not as much polished as it should be as compared to when you're picking files from Android or iOS application. It gets the job done, but it's not great. So when you're picking up the file and then uploading that file as well to Firebase or any other backend, it took quite some time. So that was my very first issue, that there are not enough packages, native packages for web. And if there are some native packages for web, they work only for web, not for classroom. But whereas Flutter motto is that you need to write code once and shift it anywhere else. So that was one of my major issues. The other issue that I faced was too much JavaScript. If you don't know, Flutter compiles the compile the Dart code into the native platform. So if you're developing Android application, it will translate that code from Dart to Kotlin, and if you're developing for iOS application, then from Dart to Swift, or in that case of web, if you're you're developing in Dart, it will convert into HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But it in web it is a little bit different because you're not just translating the code, you are injecting JavaScript when it is required. So it was my previous project. Let me show you guys on Netlify that was deployed. Um, it was it is one of my previous projects that is on Netlify. This is my previous site I worked on. It has a full CMS system. It is a portfolio website along with a blog website. I made a couple of videos referring to this article, but you see, when I load the blogs, it took some time because it is pulling all the data from the back end to the front end, and it is quite slow, a couple of seconds slow, and it works on my machine, or even if it is deployed, it works on my side because I have a pretty fast internet connection. But when I pass the URL to somebody else, they complain that website is pretty slow and it might not work sometimes. So it had everything, it was perfect for me, but it's still a little bit less functional and a little bit slow. So I migrated to something else completely different. I make another video about it. But what the thing is, when you're injecting JavaScript into the Dart main code, and you have a slow internet connection, the experience is pretty bad. Sure, there is some trickery. I have talked to a friend and has given me some feedback upon it. He has some minor changes that I will be implementing and will make sure that this is going to increase the performance or not. But that is the overall issue. It means that why are you injecting JavaScript at the runtime? It's not really functional. And tomorrow, I just saw this tomorrow that Dart has a static site generator as well. I'm not sure how well rounded it is. I've not yet tried it, but stay tuned for that. I will be working exploring the new static site generator for Dart as well, because it is something that I use. My entire the new website is based on static site generator as well, but it's not all false and negative. There are some pros as well. Why, if you're using Dart for Android application, and for Android and iOS application, mainly mobile. So Dart is pretty good in developing mobile applications. That is its key point, its key pillar, and it's amazing. So let's just first of all experience about the developer experience. So overall, Flutter Flutter is very good for developing Android application because of its have hot reloading, object oriented structure. You can create different components. You can just if you need anything, you can pass the data via object. It has strict data types and it can be loose. It all depends upon you. It has good state management, for example, getX, riverpod, provider, all of these amazing state management, and they are delightful to work. Each state manager has its own pros and cons, and I will make a video on separate talking about each state management in the near future. And depending upon the scope of the project and the scale of the projects, each state manager has its own role as well. Let's just talk about package support for Android and iOS. It's pretty great. Just visit the package Flutter pub.get. It is the site for hosting, for displaying, checking out all those packages for mobile application. And here are a couple of things that if your app need authentication, you can sign in with Google, sign in with Apple, sign in with GitHub. Even you can create your own authentication using the front end animation. You can like email and password. If you need to create your own animation, then there is a built-in package, not package, built-in library from Tweak. It is amazing for transitioning from one page to another. You can customize the layout and everything. The package support for Android and iOS is just amazing. It's nothing out there. For backend technologies, backend is something that is you need in your application. Without a backend, your application is just there is no soul in your application if there is no backend. So there are three major players when it comes to backend: Firebase, Superbase, and then Pocketbase. These are the three major cloud providers. They have their own pros and cons. Firebase is the largest one, and Superbase is just a new startup that has shown promises. And a Pocketbase is a self-hosted backend for you guys. They all provide SDK, Flutter SDK, so that you guys can connect your backend to your front end in a simplest way. And if you don't like these cloud based, then you can just integrate different APIs into the Flutter front end using a simple package known as HTTPS. Let me just show you the package. It's pretty cool package. Uh, Whenever you want to integrate any kind of APIs, or you want to send network to between the Flutter application and the backend of the application, then you can use HTTP. It's a pretty great package. It's highly I highly recommend you to try this package. I have used it on multiple applications. My own application Wallzen, I'm working on. It's a wallpaper application. I'm using an API on that. I used when I'm on work during my office hours. I use that as well. And you can just it's an amazing. And by far the third most important for me is updating my application on the fly. So if you don't know, Storebird is a small startup. You can say that it's a Flutter based application or package. Storebird, someday I make a separate video on Storebird. So if you don't know, Storebird is a startup for Flutter application. So what they do, just you just write your bunch of code you want to commit to GitHub, and then you want to send all those new changes to and new few features to the users as well. But you need to go through, Apple Store or Google Play Store, and it can be a little pain to go through all of the testing phases and then deployment. And sometimes your APK get approved, and sometimes it doesn't. So, solution for that is Storebird. It bypass every all of that. It just a simple 1 to 2 line code, and it will update your application on the fly as soon as you commit your code to GitHub. Someday I will make a dedicated video exploring and telling you guys about Storebird as well. But until then, wait. So overall, what's the conclusion? So overall, what's the conclusion? Conclusion is pretty simple. For web applications, I must say there is a wiggle room. There is still need for improvement. It can be done, as you can see. I have already created a site, um, my homepage, my about section, my project section, my experiences. It's all based on Flutter. Even you can open your WhatsApp through over here as well. It's all functional. It's all you can do anything you wanted. The backend is Firebase. You can write your own comment. You can create your authentication. I just need to access slash admin, and it will take me to CMS sector of the website as well. It's all dynamically. Plus there is routing as well. So if you don't know, you can also there is dynamic routing as well, that I have implemented. So if you take me to a page like blog, so it will redirect me to blog website. So dynamic routing is something that is a little bit tricky to set up if you're using Firebase, but it can be done. And I will be going through. I will make another separate video explaining all these new features, that how you guys can do it, because it's a little bit hassle to set them up. But once they are set up, it's pretty fast. The only thing that I complain that I don't use backend for my for front end for my web application is that when I'm writing blog, it's a little bit slow to load. And I want instantaneous, a couple of, not even take a millisecond of response time. Plus the optimization of images is a real challenging point as well, because over here I'm not optimizing anything. But on my new site, I'm using Astro. By the way, I moved from Flutter web app to Astro based website. All these images, and yet these are 1080p, and they are all optimized up to a mini kilobytes, and they are a couple of megabytes, and they do take a lot of storage. Plus you are logged into proprietary Firebase solutions if you're using any kind of backend. For that case, I highly recommend you to guys check out Pocket Base. You can host your own backend full fledged. They have SDKs. Um, they have their own authentication system, and you can just create an account, deploy it on anywhere. You just need to rent a server, and there are a bunch of options out there. There are free server as well, and there's a paid server as well, but I'll make a dedicated video upon that as well. So that is pretty much it. I have seen that Flutter team is working on a new project that is known as static site generator for Dart, and I'm curious about that. I will be trying that, and but everything what I say is that rely on technology that is currently present and not in the near future, so that you don't choose the wrong tech stack for your application. And that is pretty much it. Let me know what are your thoughts on Flutter for web and desktop applications. And until then, peace out, nerds.